What I find that is very helpful to a lot of people is breaking down that myth that society, culture, the banks kind of promote. And that is, you gotta be a high income earner to be in the real estate game. You gotta have impeccable credit. You gotta have a giant down payment. And those just simply aren't true. I think those barriers are put out there to keep more people kind of in this submissive, passive, go along kind of mentality, when the fact is you can be a participant, you can be an owner, and not enough of us were taught that at the dinner table, growing up, because I think our parents didn't know either. So that's what makes me feel like, I'm kind of like this leader of the real estate revolution, because you don't have to be wealthy. And the banks, they're very formal because they're publicly traded and they're regulated. But the fact is, there are many avenues to get you into the real estate business without the traditional methods. There are things called seller carried financing. That's where a seller actually acts as the bank instead of the bank. And when you do that kind of a transaction, there's no credit check, there's no FICO score involved. He's not looking at 2 years of tax returns. He's just motivated to sell that property and is willing to carry a portion of, if not all of, his equity in order to let you acquire the property. And that's what's unique. That's what the average person on the street doesn't know. That's what the average realtor doesn't even know. And so you gotta kind of attach to somebody who can educate you about these alternative methods. I call it creative real estate acquisition. I created a mentorship program called the Creative Real Estate Acquisition Method, because it's all about learning how to do creative deals. A seller can carry all of his equity. You can take over someone's loan while it's still in their name. You can create opportunities to pay someone their equity after you've acquired the property, after you've renovated it, after you've increased the value, pay them their profit at the end. A lot of people don't know that this exists. They think you need the traditional 20% down payment, perfect credit score, 2 years of tax returns. They go, oh my God, my tax returns look a mess. Well, there's still a way to become a real estate owner, a real estate entrepreneur, and you can dig your way right out of that rut with your first transaction. I teach people how to acquire real estate and make a minimum of $50,000 in their first transaction. Now, will $50,000 move the needle? For most people, it would. And many times we can make a lot more than that on a transaction. There have been transactions where 7-figure profits have been made in very short order. 60, 90, 120 days, $1 million profit. I don't like to talk about those too much because I don't want to blow people's minds and go, oh, that's pie in the sky, that's not real. So we talk in terms of $50,000 or $100,000, which is very, very real. But the truth of the matter is, you can make much, much more than that in very, very easy, simple to understand transactions and change your life overnight almost. I talk a lot about acquiring real estate, but there are many different avenues inside of the real estate industry. You can do fix and flip homes creatively. You can buy income producing property that are traditional, like apartment buildings. There are things like shopping centers, office buildings, self-storage, mobile homes, mobile home parks. All of those are facets of the real estate business that offer opportunities for entrepreneurs to become owners and create wealth rapidly. You see, I think you have to become a part of an industry or a vehicle, if you will, that can accelerate wealth and pay you outsized returns. You see, a lot of people think, I gotta go get a job and I gotta make $70,000 a year, and then I gotta save my money and I gotta put it into the S&P 500 and make 8% a year. And if I save long enough, I might get a down payment, I might be able to buy a house. And if I'm lucky, 8 years later, maybe I can buy a rental house, and then maybe I can grow. Then maybe by 40 years from now, maybe I can be worth $500,000. But the fact of the matter is, you could be worth $500,000 next week if you find the right opportunity inside of the right vehicle. Real estate is one of those vehicles that has outsized return possibilities in short order. You don't need a college degree. You don't need a formal education. You just need knowledge. And a lot of us just weren't taught this. They certainly don't teach it in school. Hello. I went to school for 16 years, got a major degree from a major university, and nobody once told me that ownership of something like real estate will change your life. Ownership of things like real estate opportunities, fix and flip opportunities, value added real estate opportunities would make you a wealthy person at a young age. And people don't get that. And then a lot of times they don't teach you that vocations or professions are not created equal. A job is not a job, is not a job. I quit my job in order to get a real estate license so that I could make outsized returns, outsized profits, outsized paychecks, so that then I could become a real estate investor in earnest. So there are very, very few professions, but they exist, where you don't make the traditional $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to start. You could become a real estate agent. I take a lot of pride in teaching this. You can become a real estate agent and you can make $150,000 your very first year. You can make $300,000 within your first 2 years. You can make $1 million by your 5th year if you are disciplined enough to do the things that it takes. Are those things easy? Absolutely not. Is it a wake up and get rich quick scheme? Absolutely not. Quite the opposite, actually. If you want to really know what the nuts and bolts are, I can tell you some stories. I can tell you about cold calling for 8 hours in a day, doing it every day until something popped. But I could also tell you about making $1 million payday in one transaction that I put together in 24 hours. So if you want to become paid in an inordinate way, then you have to do something that's not ordinary, you see. And where do you get the confidence? Everyone goes, oh, well, you got more confidence than anybody I ever met. I don't have your confidence. Well, let me tell you a secret. Competence creates confidence. So you become competent in a thing and the confidence comes after it. Why am I confident about real estate and my knowledge and my ability to grow wealth? Because I have made 50,000 cold calls and have 50,000 conversations with people about real estate. So I know everything there is to know, well, maybe not everything, but pretty close, about real estate. So many people want to find that thing that can make them wealthy. I contend that many, many things can make you wealthy. You just got to become great at a thing. Now, you name an industry and I can probably introduce you to a millionaire in that industry. I just happen to think real estate is one of those that's very straightforward, and you can predict your growth. You can predict your ascent. You can predict your wealth, because real estate is that kind of vehicle where it's perfectly measurable. Other industries, you don't quite know what you're going to get, but there are opportunities to make more than the average Joe, and you just have to find that, and you have to become competent. I think a lot of people fail to realize that. They watch social media. Hey, that guy's got a Lambo. That guy's got a jet. Well, let's go backwards and find out what that guy did to become competent, to become great, to become a master at a thing, and then the returns came. Very, very seldomly is there this overnight, pow, mega millionaire success. Most of the time, beneath that success, beneath that austere, that facade of success, is a whole lot of hard work. It doesn't have to take a whole lot of years, but there's a whole lot of hard work behind it. And so behind every master is someone who really paid some dues somewhere. I believe that.